But if it's in the handbook, it means something.
check out when they left.
Yeah, but you gotta have a policy.
Until records.
So I got, I rolled it up.
I'm not sure that everything in our handbook is in policy.
And run them in the wintertime, run them for many years.
Or the handbook becomes policy.
Wire welding stainless is, while it holds, it doesn't look very attractive.
Are we live? Yes, I don't know, I'm blinded, so I can't see you. All right, thank you. All right, 6 o'clock, I will call this Personnel Committee meeting to order. I see we have Bob and Tracy, so the full committee is here. Item number 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Just a second. Rhonda, there's a big echo from the speakers aren't working. There's a big echo when anyone talks, it's coming back, especially off of Tom's mic.
And there's no speakers.
Test, 1,
on
2,
stage.
test.
That's better.
That's better.
Yeah. Okay, item 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. All right, approval of minutes from May 18th.
Move to approve the minutes from May 18th, 2021.
I can't hear, but I'll second that.
All right. Motion by Tracy, second
I
by
don't think
Bob.
these speakers are working up here. The volume needs to be turned up a little bit. Sorry.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
That carries. All right, item number 5, new business, discussion and action regarding enrollment update. Mr. Nowak?
Meeting, we had concerns about two particular grade levels at 2 grade levels at 2 schools. That is Mac, first grade was in the red. Likewise, Rockfield's kindergarten was also in the red. We had said that we were going to wait for this meeting to kind of verify that, speak to where we are right now. We continue to be in the red in those areas. Clearly, we're in a place where the addition of 2 teachers in those classrooms would put us in a place outside of the red, which is where we want to be. In terms of budgetarily, can we support those? We've worked with the business office and we're in a position where we feel that we can. So we're asking tonight for the ability to post for those positions and move forward. And likewise, since the time of this posting, we also have one other classroom that seems to be bubbling. That's kindergarten at MacArthur. That particular grade level on Friday received 12 new enrollments, which puts them in the red. So it's an area that we should talk about. But initially, we would want to know about the 2 that were in the red.
All right, if that puts 3 different classes in the red, I think we just collectively need to talk about all of them.
Sure.
Because let's just say we would move forward with the 2 that are part of our background. If we're going to need that 3rd teacher, I would think that if we can approve it now, that gives you a lot more time to find someone to fill that role.
Correct.
Versus waiting 2 more weeks.
Yeah, and a lot is an interesting term there because we are getting into a kind of a danger zone in terms of attracting quality candidates, as you can imagine.
I know, we're already at the last minute.
Right.
Understood.
The one, so I feel very strongly about the 2 that had been discussed, what was that now, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, lose track of time. But in regard to the new bubble, one thing, there are new enrollments. At the same time, that could mean that people are exiting, but now haven't told us. The idea being maybe rentals and the beginning of the month and those kinds of things. We feel pretty confident in terms of what we heard on Friday and saw on Friday that those numbers are going to hold. But it's just kind of an interesting, I haven't seen a day where we had that big of a jump. So I would feel comfortable talking about the 3, or at least putting us in a position where throughout the week, if we can monitor it and make a decision to move on it, it would help us.
Okay.
Mr. Nowak, so because you're posting for a kindergarten and a first grade and the MacArthur is a kindergarten, you would have the same candidate pool
Correct.
potentially,
Mhm.
right? So you could, as you're posted that and looking at those candidates, you could be thinking about the MacArthur position as and then get better numbers on it. And by the time something's posted, the interviews, you're probably 2 weeks out anyway, or?
Right. So in other words, as we go through the process, if we see quality candidates, we may have some efficiency in terms of being able to say, well, we like multiple candidates from the candidate pool, commit to one and, speak to one about the possibility and potentially act on it. But we would help ourselves that way.
Mike, what were the two classes right now?
The two that we had talked about previously are MacArthur at the first grade level and kindergarten at
County line at the first
Right.
grade.
The two red, Mac at first grade and then kindergarten at Rock.
It's Rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the third one?
The third one is kindergarten at MacArthur. It doesn't show in the red because at the time of this posting, it's what it was. But as of, I think it was Friday, we had 12 new enrollments that came in.
Now, from a budget perspective, you said the business office felt pretty good about 2, but now we're talking about a third. Has there been any discussion on that third?
Yeah, Brittany, we've talked about it a little bit. Do you want to speak to kind of where we're at that way?
Sure. Currently, their third one has not been added to the budget since I recently just found out about it. I just want to make sure that when we pull the information from Skyward, that it's most up to date and it has all the withdrawals and the new enrollees before I don't want to say not to move forward, but before we add another teacher and hire, I just want to make sure that the numbers are as accurate as possible.
Got it. Thank you.
So Brittany, if we would go with 3 tonight, do you feel comfortable from a budget standpoint that everything's fine?
So as you know, every student we add this year hurts us, but
Next year.
to know that I don't want to have classrooms with too many students per teacher, we will figure it out. Yes.
No, I support that because especially at the younger classes, the younger grades, we need to follow our policy on this.
Right. That's
Got
why
it.
I agree with that.
Okay, cool.
All right. Committee, thoughts?
I support it, especially at the younger grades. We need to follow policy, so.
Yeah, I think 25 or more, I mean, that's way too many, especially at kindergarten and first grade.
Mike, if we don't do this, what's the plan B?
Well, we would.
What would we do for all the moms and dads out there with all those kids in one class?
We've had situations where we've operated in the red. We rely on our communication with our principals and our teachers relative to what they know about the class. A lot of times that'll happen in later grades when we have a better grasp of who the students are and those kinds of things. We've also operated in the red in situations where our buildings didn't have the capacity. You think back to construction, and we had times when we were tight and we managed. The other thing to consider is the idea of providing aid support in those settings, where maybe there's an aide that works between classes or multiple aides that provides support in those situations.
Okay, I'm going to ask a really stupid question. We know Rock is a 3-track school, but if we go to MacArthur for both kindergarten and grade 1, that's 4-track now. Do we have space for it?
I believe we do. Yes, we do. And it's an interesting question. As we map out our work through this process in terms of sectioning, which begins really going back to the spring, when we think about County Line and Mac being 4-track schools and we're operating at 3, we're sort of in an awkward place where we know The design was the potential for 4 tracks, and in operating for 3, are we setting ourselves up for down the road at this time of year, are they going to be coming? So,
And I'll ask one final question that no one wants to talk about. You look at MacArthur and you look at Amy Bell, grade 1, they've got 2 tracks there. We've got 3 tracks, soon to be 4 tracks at MacArthur. Is there an opportunity to shift students around?
as we did, I think, what was that, a few years back with some construction, when we talked about that, we have not gone that route in this situation. The data is is too new for that to have occurred. When we do that, it's never an easy situation. It involves reaching out to families who, may have other students at different grade levels and all kinds of family situations like that we have to consider, so it would not be ideal.
Got it. Because with the 12 new students for, I believe you said, for MacArthur for grade 1? Or was it for-
Kindergarten. That'd be
Kindergarten, okay, gotcha. Okay, got it. Thank you, Tom.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the recruiting for 3 FTEs for MacArthur for grade 1, for Rockfield for kindergarten, and for MacArthur for kindergarten as well.
Second.
All right.
Is that the right wording, Mike? Or do you want something else more to that?
I think that's
Okay,
accurate,
great.
yeah.
All right, any discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That carries. So we will recommend that to the board later tonight. Item B, discussion and action regarding employee handbook. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. I have 3 things to talk about relative to handbooks. The first 2 are really, I would say, minor details and deal more with clerical efficiency, just to describe it that way. The first thing is that we're asking for the language in the support staff handbook, which states such leave shall be non-cumulative except after 3 years of employment, to be deleted. That was a situation, what that refers to is we don't allow support staff to accumulate sick personal leave. In this case, they can accumulate up to 5 days. We don't allow them to do that until after 3 years of employment. It's sort of a nice carrot, but the reality is if we utilize this practice, we're basically saying use your personal leave, which they will. And what we're finding is that people will go to the end of the year, be stressed to use it, be asking for it in times that are inopportune. We feel it's a much better situation if we allow them to accumulate only up to 5 in that initial year of employment. Our workforce in the business office feels good about that, and we're supportive as well from the HR perspective. We probably should go through these individually, I guess, is my thought.
That's fine.
Yeah.
For transparency, I will not be voting on this, but I can certainly send it forward to the board because I have a spouse that works in the district. Committee, any thoughts on this particular recommendation?
Yeah, I have no problem moving forward with this.
Same here.
Are you looking for a motion?
I think so, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee handbook specific to support staff.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving into the second item that I'd like to talk about, same thing in the sports staff section. The practice in the business office is to allocate vacation leave on the anniversary date of employment. And what we're asking for is that shift to be made to July 1. There's no change to the employee in terms of what they get. This is really about being efficient. So in other words, throughout the year, at various points, our office staff is needing to make those kinds of adjustments many times throughout the year. This way we do it at one point in a way that's fair to the employee. So we would ask for the transition to the July 1st allocation.
What handbook is this for?
This is a support staff.
Support staff.
Committee? Your will?
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well, but quick question. What you just said, is that more of an administrative rule, a policy, a guideline, or all of the above?
I would say all of the above, but the fact that it's noted in the handbook is of concern to us, and we would want it clarified there.
Got it, but it's not a specific board policy that states that?
No, I
Got
take
it.
that back. You're right, no
Got it.
policy, right.
Great, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion under the vacation area in the support staff section of the handbook to remove the phrase "after the first year of employment" and make vacation allocation starting on July 1st.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That carries. All right, item,
Well, there's
let's see.
one more.
Oh, yeah, we got one more. Yep.
The other handbook piece that we need to address is quite different than the first two. It deals with arrival times for teachers in light of the fact that our start and end times have changed this year. There's a chart in the current handbook that reflects the old start and end times. The chart that you see before you reflects the new start and end times. We would ask for approval to make that change in the handbook.
Seems non-controversial to me. Committee? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that under the professional responsibilities and normal workday section in the teaching staff section of the staff handbook, that those changes for the normal workday schedule hours be updated as presented.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Does the committee have anything else they'd wish to discuss regarding the employee handbook?
Yeah, Mr. Barney, I would like to bring up, and first I want to applaud you for putting this together. It's wonderful. But seeing that we're talking about the handbook tonight, the various handbooks for teaching staff, technical staff, support staff, and I believe you've got the one handbook which is more detailed. It covers
Section.
Covers everybody. I would hope that the committee and also the full board would have the opportunity to look at the entirety of that handbook and opine on it and make some recommendations and comments. And also, based on discussion at the committee level, take some action on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love how you have on page 9 of the employee handbook, under district expectations, the district expects employees to comply with all board policies with work rules, job descriptions, terms of this handbook, and legal obligations. The district expects employees to comply with the standards of conduct set out in board policies, this handbook, administrative regulations, procedures, and with other policies, regulations, or guidelines that impose duties, requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So that's very broad, casts a wide net. Saying that, I would like to have something added to this, which I think would be great, and I understand that it'll be discussed at the policy committee next week, which I'm a member of, and I understand that I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we certainly don't need the policy committee to opine on, I would love to have the policy committee opine on and take action on putting this in standard as a policy, but seeing that this handbook is very broad and covers not just policies, but also administrative regulations, procedures, et cetera, I would like to add something to this handbook that reflects something that we've been talking about for the last several months. And I'm a firm believer in, taking action on something that we could take action on and moving on so that we can move on. And so I would like to add that, add the following. Germantown School District prohibits the use and/or practice of pedagogy, resource materials, or staff professional development activities within the district that would compel or direct students or staff to personally affirm, adopt, or adhere to any of the following. 1, that any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, ability, age, or national origin in inherently superior or inferior. 2, that individuals should be adversely treated by virtue of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, ability, age, or national origin. And 3, that individuals by virtue of sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, ability, age, or national origin are inherently responsible for actions committed by another member of the same sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, ability, age, or national origin. Further, there'll be no distinction or classifications made of students on account of race or color within the educational environment. I would like that added to the handbook. I understand that this will go to policy next week, and I'm confident that the policy committee, which I'm a member of, will discuss and take action on this, so it goes to the full board of the following board meeting. But I would like to add that right now, seeing that the handbook covers not just policy, but covers administrative regulations, procedures, and other guidelines.
That was an official motion, right?
That's a motion.
Motion.
Yep, second.
All right, so we have the motion and the second. I agree with what you read. I agree that it should go in the handbook. I have one concern regarding the last statement. That being, further, there should be no distinction or classification made of any students on account of race. If we collect demographics on that student and store it in Skyward, we've now classified them. I understand what it's trying to get at. I just don't know that the wording is right there.
Got it. I would have no problem taking that away from my motion. So,
Okay.
you okay with that?
Tracy, you had the
Tracy?
second.
Yeah, I'm fine with that second.
Okay. All right, we have motion and second. Discussion. Michael?
Wouldn't the stats collected by the district and the overall student population be different than how students might use that in the classroom? So I think this was the teacher handbook we were talking about, right? So I think this could be left in the teacher handbook.
It's more, this is for the more broad general handbook.
More broad,
Yeah.
okay.
But I would like to include that into the, I know there's a teaching staff handbook as well. I don't know, they've got a section on district standards as well. But if I don't know, what are we calling this? This is the employee handbook, but
There's
covers
the
everybody.
main section, and then there are 4 subsections which reflect various employee groups.
So all 4 subsections have to comply with the main employee handbook. Got it. So I'd be okay with it being the employee handbook, because that will cascade down to all the other 4.
So we leave the last item in, or we take it out?
I don't know,
or-
Mr. Barney?
Sorry.
Go
I
ahead,
was gonna
Tracy.
say, personally, I'd like to leave it out for now. We can add it to policy and have a further deeper dive to see if that language maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit, just for clarity. Everything that Bob said prior to that, I'm perfectly comfortable with. It's that last sentence that I personally would like to get a little bit more clarity or tweak the language to to make sure it's clear as far as exactly what we mean by that.
I mean, I can't believe that anybody would want us to treat people differently. I can't believe anybody would want us to take action against people for being not like us. I can't believe that anybody would want us to, I don't know. I mean, this is just the right thing to do.
It is, but haven't you captured that in your 3 bullet points?
I did. And I would say the last comment, which, Mike, you may want to reach out to DPI, because I don't want to do anything that conflicts with DPI in terms of collecting data.
Yeah.
To your point, Mr. Barney, on no distinction on classification made of students on account of race or color, we collect that information today, and we need to collect it tomorrow.
Right.
But if, I don't want to put something in, take action, have the committee and/or the full board to vote on it if we're going to be in conflict.
Which I think I had the same reaction relative to that particular sentence, and that was my thought. And even beyond DPI, on a federal level relative to funding and those kinds of things. I just want to say it doesn't matter too much in regards to this particular issue, but the reality of reviewing the handbook right now, there's nothing magical about right now, aside from the fact that it's just a logical time to do it. The handbook can be reviewed at any point. We can make additions, deletions at any point throughout the year.
And again, I think you've done a wonderful job on the handbook, but I'd just like to see those 3 things added, because it's the right thing to do.
Cool. Michael?
Bob, I know you're saying that you can't believe that anybody would do this in our schools. However, and I can't believe it either, however, what it's called today is American Marxism. That's what the American Marxists are doing in this country. It's pretty simple when you know what's going on.
No, and I agree, Mike, but we got to start someplace, and I think the starting point right now is we've got the opportunity, because we're talking about it, we're going to take action on the handbook.
Right?
And the good thing, it's going to go to policy next week, and then to the full board.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing, I'm
No,
agreeing.
I know. And hopefully at the policy, we'll add more verbiage to what we're talking about right now, so that if someone does cross that line, the board administration can take appropriate action.
Yeah, I'm
So.
just putting it out there, what it's called. It's called American Marxism. It's pretty simple once you know what's going on.
I agree.
Any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion and a second to add the language that Mr. Soderberg read into the, was it main section of the employee handbook? And if approved, we'll recommend that to the board tonight. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay. Moving on to item C, discussion and action regarding activities and athletics handbook.
Thank you. Mr. Nerdle is with us tonight to speak to both of these topics, the first one being handbooks at the high school and the middle school level.
Good evening. So we are bringing forward the middle school co-curricular handbook for the first time. We've never had a co-curricular handbook at the middle school level, but we have obviously had middle school co-curricular programming. So it essentially mirrors the high school program, or the high school handbook, which is just here for its annual review. So we're just bringing them forward to get those approved for this school year. Also, something that we started this year too at the middle school is online co-curricular registration. We're in our 3rd year at the high school, and again, it's just we're trying to bring them in line with the high school, and it's so far been going well, but that's something else that we added this year at the middle school level.
All right, thank you. Just so I understand, you're asking us to approve the middle school and the high school co-curricular contract, or co-curricular handbooks.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Committee, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the middle school and high school co-curricular handbooks for the 2021-2022 school year.
And I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That carries. Thank you. Item D, discussion and action regarding co-curricular contracts. Mr. Nowak.
Mr. Nerdle will speak to this topic as well. In particular, this deals with one group, our powerlifting group, which is unique in that it's been around for quite a while and it's been very, very successful. As part of this request, we've discussed quite a bit and we've talked about review of co-curricular programming relative to numbers of coaches and kind of the breadth of what we offer, both in the district and a comparative basis, which we feel needs to happen. But this is one particular group that's sort of lingered, that has been out there quite a bit, and the level of success they've had, it brings us to here today to talk about it.
All right, so this is our powerlifting program, also known as G-Town Power. Coach Schubert's been our advisor for this group since 2015, and it existed before he got here, but he's really taken it to a new level. This past year, they had 24 student athletes, the most ever qualify for the national championships in spring, and 2 of those 24 athletes broke numerous USA powerlifting state records. So just looking at the amount of time that they practice in comparison with our other co-curricular activities, we're proposing a 7% head advisor contract, which is $2,500, and then a 5% assistant advisor contract, which is $1,800. Again, we really feel like this should be a school-sponsored, school-recognized group. We've got a lot of kids going out for this group. We've got incredible coaches, and we'd like to compensate them for their time with our student athletes.
Thank you. I realize it's not a ton, just being a 7% and a 5%, but whose budget is it coming out of? All right. Guess the business office is aware.
I think this is pretty cool, and I support this 100%. So I'll make a motion to move forward with a head and assistant paid advisor for this program to be compensated at $2,500 and $1,800 respectively.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I will entertain one final motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we adjourned at 6:32. Thank you. Oh, Brian can.
I'd like to call the Germantown School District Building Committee meeting to order at 6:33. Roll call. Borden, absent excused. Mr. Loth?
Here.
Mr. Kanke is absent excused. I am here, and Mr. Medved will be sitting in as a representative. Item 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Move to approve the agenda.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, approval of the July 19th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, reports and updates. Director of Buildings and Grounds, Fund 10 and Fund 41 projects and facility services. Mr. Erickson.
Hello. First thing I'd like to report on is the Amy Bell drain. In room 121 at Amy Bell, the drain was not working properly. District maintenance staff were unable to clear the obstruction and Roto-Rooter had to be called in. Roto-Rooter had difficulty as well trying to get the drain cleared. They ended up sending a camera down, and as you can see in the picture below the report, there was a rock lodged in the piping. Nice sized rock too. So, needless to say, they couldn't get it out as well. So we ended up calling in DeBellick Plumbing. DeBellick Plumbing cut the floor open, broke into the pipe, and removed the rock. The floor has now been patched back up. Floor tiling is the last thing that needs to go back on it. Any questions? Amy Bell infiltration basin. The Amy Bell custodian, Chris Owens, worked together with the district warehouseman, Steve Giebert, on the infiltration basin. Core seeder was rented to help break up the top surface of the soil and overseed the basin. The basin is watered and sprinkled daily in hopes that the seed will germinate and take hold prior to the start of the school year. With today's rain and yesterday's, over the weekend's rain, hopefully it hasn't washed out and we still have grass seed in there that can germinate and be ready for the time the school starts. Any questions? Holton Brothers has started the EFS repairs in the County Line courtyard. Repairs will be completed before school starts. County Line chimneys, Holton Brothers also provided a quote for $4,990 to rebuild the County Line chimneys. Below are pictures and details of the repairs. As you can see in the pictures, some of the areas they actually had to remove all the mortar out and replace it, and then replace a few bricks as well in order to get these chimneys back into shape. Holton Brothers also provided a quote for $9,880 to rebuild the chimneys at Rockfield Elementary. Basically, they had to take all the brick off, rebuild the caps, rebuild the entire chimney on these at Rockfield Elementary. Any questions? Nope. Next is the Germantown High School pool deck meeting. Brittany and I met with representatives from PRA, CD Smith, and Lippert Floor Tiling to discuss the pool deck issues. After inspecting the deck and noticing many more areas that the grout is washing out and the tile is starting to delaminate off the floor, it was agreed that the grout manufacturer needs to be brought back for further discussions. The grout manufacturer was not present at this meeting at the time. Any questions?
What does that mean, further discussion? I'm the grout vendor. What are you going to talk to me about?
We're going to find out why your grout is failing.
I'm going to say everything's hunky-dory with my grout.
They've got to figure it out. Somebody's got to figure out what's going on in there because water's getting underneath the tile. First evidence is that the grout washes out, water gets underneath the tile, and that causes the delamination. So if you're the grout person and you're saying there's nothing wrong with the grout, I'm going to be asking you, why is your grout washing out? It shouldn't be washing out.
Got it. Now, did we select the grout vendor? I believe that was from the GC, the general contractor, correct? We may have, based on the cost, I believe during the owners committee or the building committee, we may have approved something.
CD Smith picked the floor installers. I do believe PRA spec'd out the grout to be used.
Got it. So shouldn't we be talking to all three parties?
All three parties will be at the next meeting. PRA, CD Smith, and Lippert Floor Tile were present at the meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep, so, now am I on? So he's correct, those three people were at the meeting. They did try to bring the grout manufacturer to the meeting and they were unavailable. So the three individuals that attended our meeting will go meet with the manufacturing company. I do believe it was CD Smith that hired the installation company and then they had it in their specs to use that specific grout. So it was CD Smith that spec'd that grout.
Because if I'm the grout guy, I'm going to say that I installed it per the manufacturer's recommendations. I'm going to kick the can down the road to the grout guy saying it's a product defect. So everybody's going to be pointing fingers at each other. And I just want to make sure that the Germantown School District doesn't incur any additional expense on resolving this issue, because we've only been talking about it since the pool's been open.
Correct. Yeah,
and you're doing a wonderful job managing this, but it is getting kind of old, which I know you're aware of that, so.
I'd have to agree. It needs to get resolved. And at this point in time, we're not going to make any repairs on the deck until we get a resolution.
Cool. Thank you.
So an add-on to that, obviously we're talking about tiles and everything. Is there a chance that because of this continuing issue that it somehow spreads elsewhere, that we have to worry about if this keeps lingering on and on and on, that we might have to worry about something else because of the deterioration of the tiles?
I don't believe so, because the concrete's solid underneath it. It's just a question of the tiles delaminating, water getting underneath the tiles and forcing the tiles off the floor and breaking them.
So Don, a few months ago, we talked about, I believe, the concrete seams being covered up by the tiles. And were those seams ever corrected where the seam,
Expansion joints?
yeah, was brought all the way to the top and let's say silicone sealed?
Yes, that has been corrected. That was done actually in March.
So we're still having tile issues after that?
Correct.
Okay, just wondering.
The majority of the areas that actually we're having the biggest issues with are actually on the areas that have the most water washing across them. It's mostly on the south end of the pool and then by the ladders exiting the pool. So it's mostly where constant water contact and it's breaking the grout down.
So because we're not going to put any money into fixing it until the one of the third parties, I guess, takes responsibility for it, we're trying to speed it along due to the fact that we've talked about this for too long. And also, we don't want the tiles to come to a point where they remove themselves if someone's walking on them while it's wet. So we're trying to speed it along. So we will follow up with all parties to make sure that that conversation has had. It was supposed to have had immediately after our conversation. So we'll follow up on that.
One last question. The pool still is operational. We're still using it, right? Okay, great. Thank you.
Don, just for clarification, we've been talking about this for a while. Really, the only resolution is to replace the tile deck on the entire deck. And the question is, who's paying for it?
That would be the ultimate solution, yes. And that, I guess at this point in time, it's yet to be determined, but it's got to be one of the three groups.
Correct. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I don't know if any of you saw the huge semi-truck sitting in the student parking lot. That is our future track sitting out there. The contractor for the track resurfacing is behind schedule due to shortage of workers. Devin Wheat from American Field Service has the track schedule rescheduled to begin today. Unfortunately, with the weather, they weren't able to do any work on it, but they will be in this week as weather permits to get the track completed. If needed, the track work will be scheduled around any football scheduled events. They do feel that they'll have it done well before our first varsity home game. Any questions? The doors for the GHS first floor stairwell are being shipped August 4th and should be here early this week. C.D. Smith will schedule its installation as soon as the doors arrive. To this date yet, they have not arrived here. I did double check with C.D. Smith today. I haven't heard a response back to confirm whether they were actually shipped on August 4th as promised. The nice thing is that the existing stairwell doors are still there. So if they don't arrive in time, we will make do with the doors that are in that area, and they won't be torn out until probably winter break then if doors don't arrive in time. Any questions? Germantown High School roofing through wall flashing. The roofing at Germantown High School is scheduled to start August 16th. They were actually there outside today removing stones off of the affected roofing areas. Was a little surprised when I saw them there prior to the August 16th start date. Commercial Consultants is recommending the installation of a through-wall flashing as part of the roofing replacement. The installation involves removing 3 to 4 courses of brick along the entire length of the wall, approximately 90 feet, where the roof work is being completed to install a perma barrier through-wall flashing. Holton Brothers would be performing the work for $16,820. If recommended to move forward, Fund 41 roofing costs will be $163,175, with $11,825 remaining from the original $175,000 roofing estimate. Any questions? Seeing none, then I will proceed forward with the through wall flashing then. Germantown High School controls upgrade. Johnson Controls and District Maintenance and I performed a walkthrough of the control upgrade project at Germantown High School. It was discovered during this walkthrough additional areas needed to be upgraded. In addition, there have been added labor expenses and an increase in cost of needed parts. The original quote was for $29,000 and the revised quote is for $46,300, a difference of $17,300. It is recommended to move forward with Fund 41 will have $30,325 remaining after all planned projects are completed, including the through-wall flashing. And that does include the additional cost to this digital upgrade here at Germantown High School. If this work is completed, all controls here at the high school will be digital. There will be no pneumatic controls left here. Any questions? At this time, we'll move forward then with it if there's no objections from the committee. I do have a couple other things that aren't in the packet that I'd like to report upon. One is the August 9th roof leaks. Today, after the weekend and today's rains, it was discovered a few roof leaks within the district. County line, the location of the water dripping was detected with today's rainfall. This has been a leak that has been actually part of construction as well, that everybody's been battling about where is it coming from. Well, we now have a video of the actual dripping from the roof decking. They do believe it is from the mechanical system that is leaking through and coming through on the roof deck. The mechanical contractor will be brought in to make the repairs and investigate it as needed. We've met several times on this one as well. Once the repairs are completed, the drywall area on the soffit where it's dripping into will also have to be repaired. CD Smith will have to take care of that as well. Any questions on the county line leak?
I'll just add that this is just another matter that we have to be concerned about with the construction. And I know there's some community members that don't want us to talk about this anymore with PRA and possible litigation, that type of thing. But it is what it is. And when you do a district-wide construction project like we did, not just in one elementary school or one school, but we touched every single school with extensive additions, repairs, you're going to have issues. And those issues aren't going to show up on day one or day two or in a punch list before we sign off on something. So this is what we're talking about now. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and I'm not going to say it's normal to be expected, but when you're dealing with a large project like we did, $84 million, it's going to happen. So we need to continue to talk about it and address it, and most importantly, resolve it at no cost to the Germantown School District or our taxpayers. So unfortunately, will this be on our agenda if we go into closed session with PRA, with CD Smith and their subcontractors? Yes, it will. And I'm okay with that until we fix it.
I'll keep bringing them forward as they keep coming to my attention. Next one is here, GHSPAC. We've reported leaks here at this building several times as well. Fortunately, one of them has finally been repaired. There's a through-wall roof drain on the upper part of over the stage. The plumber contractor actually finally came in and they reran it, and we have not seen any leaking out of it since then. Unfortunately, though, we still have two leaks that have occurred. One is a new one. It's in the corner of the north hall, right outside the door over here, and then one in the prop rooms. And the one in the prop room actually occurred last heavy rainstorms that we had, and we believed it was fixed up till this weekend. After this weekend, it looks like it's greatly reduced, but there is some indications of moisture on the floor, so it's still of the perception that it's still leaking. Roofing contractor is due out tomorrow, I believe, to take a look at it and to try to come up with a resolution for it. One of the things that I am suggesting to CD Smith is that we do a flood test of the area, and perhaps if we need to get the fire department out as well to hose down the walls to see if that is where the leak is coming from. There's multiple areas which have caulk in it or cracks that could be causing the leak, as well as the roofing material. Any questions on the PAC leaks?
No.
All right, all the other schools have seemed to do well, excluding MacArthur Elementary. The contractor will be at MacArthur Elementary to investigate several leaks from the weekend and today's rainfalls. The custodian there reported probably 4 or 5 of them to me this morning and sent me a roof leak report. I immediately forwarded it on to CCG, and they contacted the contractor to come out and look at it. And then this afternoon, I received another one from the custodian there with several more leaks on it, all in the same roof area. Most of them are located in the 1991 addition, mostly in the art room, music area, and that existing hallway as well. This roof was replaced in 2014, so it should be under warranty as well. I'll know more once we find out what the contractor finds out tomorrow with all these leaks. Thought I'd at least want to report that to you so that you're aware of it, that this was, it's an unusual rainfall we've been experiencing, but we still shouldn't be having this amount of leaks within the buildings. It's unacceptable.
Just curious, before the referendum, we had 20 acres of roof in the school district. Do you have any idea how many acres we have today?
I do not at this time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make excuses for the leaks, but I think we're doing okay considering the amount of area we have under roofs. And the excess rain, I think, is we've been having as a benefit, so we can find them, you know, in the summertime versus when class is in schedule.
Definitely a good time for it, especially when we have ceiling tiles that are getting so saturated that they're literally falling out of the grid work.
And one more, if I may, the chimneys at County Line, are those still in use with our high efficiency boilers?
Yes, they are.
We actually vent through those.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So they exhaust outside that way.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any questions on the roofing leaks? I do have another one that has popped up and we've been working on. It's a split DX unit for rooftop air handler 5 at Kennedy Middle School. It was discovered that it wasn't cooling properly. We ended up calling in Butters Fitting to find out what was up with it. They came out, looked at the unit. They discovered the first stage was not functioning properly. These included compressors 1 and 4, and it would not cool. Second stage is operating. First stage runs and trips on high head pressure. On occasion, the compressor 1 would trip its circuit breaker. This in itself, plus many other issues with the unit, including the wrong solenoid valves installed on it. There were 24-volt coils which could not properly open at high pressures. They did reclaim all the refrigerant out of the unit, cleaned the condensing coil, had to blast nitrogen both ways, 500 psi, to clear out the coil. There was a lot of debris in it. They do feel that the refrigerant also had a lot of non-condensables in it. They did a lot of work on it, and through the work, they have got it up and running, functioning properly, but I am going to be working with Southport and Train as well to get some of the installation issues corrected, and hopefully we can get the life back to this unit like it should have. I didn't want to get too technical with all the issues because unless you're a refrigeration person, you're not going to understand a lot of it. Any questions? I got one more real quick report I'll make. A building walkthrough with GSF. GSF and I did a building walkthrough of the high school, Kennedy Middle School, and MacArthur last week on August 2nd. We are actually performing the other schools tomorrow. We did find that all the perimeter windows were washed inside and outside. 95% of the schools were completed, especially at the high school. The classrooms were cleaned and waxed. Locker rooms have been cleaned and disinfected. All the cafeteria tables have been cleaned and sanitized. Kennedy Middle School, the same with the outside windows. 85% of the school is complete. Left to complete is scrubbing some VCT classrooms and waxing the gym, cafeteria, and some hallway. All the classrooms are cleaned and all the LVT rooms have been scrubbed. The Tenant robot scrubber has been delivered and it is set up to run a route. At MacArthur, all the perimeter windows were also washed. 90% of the school is complete. Left to complete is finished waxing some hallways and 3 classrooms and scrubbing the gym. Classrooms have been cleaned and waxed. All LVT floors have been scrubbed. There are some areas, especially at the middle school and some of the elementary schools, which they probably won't get completely done. The rooms themselves will be cleaned, but they may not get to the floors where we typically go in. We'll do a deep scrub and wax them due to the short time of summer. Starting in July 1 versus the June start date, they're not going to be able to get each and every classroom completed. I have asked them to provide me a list of which classrooms those are so I can get that forwarded out to all staff so that they have an understanding that it wasn't that their room wasn't cleaned, it's just that their floors weren't scrubbed and waxed necessarily. Want to be proactive on it and make sure that staff are aware of it so when they walk into their room, they don't get the impression, well, my room is filthy, because they see the floor and they think that their classroom wasn't actually cleaned. So we're going to get that word out as well. The principals also have to be informed of which rooms were not waxed and scrubbed. The plan is, though, that they will come in during breaks and do some deep scrubbing in these areas, deep scrubbing and waxing as well. So like during winter break, which they'll be working 4 out of the 5 days that school's out, and they'll come in and they'll start scrubbing into some of these areas that they couldn't get to this summer. Any questions?
Was that a condition of the contract that we had with them?
It was not, but it was an understanding that with the transition this year and the shortened summer months with them starting in July, that it may have occurred. So it was understood at the beginning that there might be some areas that weren't 100% to what we were expecting.
But we didn't stipulate that in the T's and C's in the contract with them, that you will do this, and that, which means you'll cover every classroom on what you just stated.
It is in the contract, I believe, but because of the transition period this year, we were kind of, they didn't have a lot of help. They're still looking for people to hire. They actually brought up a team from Chicago to do all the rooms at this point, out of Illinois.
No, I get it, but if it's in the contract, if it's in the terms and conditions, and we're paying for it, and we're not getting the service, I don't want to be a bad guy, but there's 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. And I guess my expectation would be if we sign the contract, they sign the contract in good faith, and we're paying for a service and we're not getting that service, not our fault. They need to do what they need to do to get it done. And I know that the classrooms will be clean. They just won't have that shiny sheen on the floor. I get that. But if we're paying for it, I don't want to delay 2 months or 3 months till the next break to get it done. And I understand with what our government is doing on paying people to stay home on unemployment, and that's impacting the labor pool. I get that. But that's not our fault.
I agree.
Bob, I actually just want to make sure that the floors will be cleaned, that they're not obviously going to, or they might not have that deep scrubbing. Obviously, eventually they will. But you're not telling us that they're not going to be cleaned at all, right?
They will be clean. They just won't have the deep scrubbing and the new wax put on it. They'll still go into the rooms. They'll still make sure that they're all cleaned and everything, but they just won't have that nice, shiny walk-in look like a fresh classroom would have at the beginning of a school year.
At this time.
Right. They'll go in there, they'll take the scrubbing machine in there, they'll move the furniture, scrub the floor down, but they may not get to doing the waxing.
And Don, I know you and your team are doing a wonderful job managing this, especially with a new vendor. And I don't want to be a bad guy on this, but if there's something that we're supposed to be getting that we're not getting, I think we need to escalate that, to have a conversation. And if they're not going to be able to do it within a certain time frame, maybe we need to identify, okay, what does that cost? And we're going to deduct that from their bill.
I'll talk to them about it, especially during our walkthrough tomorrow.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. That's all I had for my reports and updates.
Thank you. Item 6, unfinished business. Discussion and possible action, administration building digital control upgrade.
At the July 20 meeting, or on July 20, Master Building Solutions was contacted to provide a quote to complete the digital control upgrade at the district administration per the request of the last building committee meeting. Attached is the proposal for $49,121 to complete the building. With the additional cost for the Germantown High School upgrade and the roofing through wall flashing deducted, there is still the $30,325 remaining in Fund 41. $15,000 has been budgeted from the maintenance budget to begin with. So that leaves a total of $3,796 still yet to be funded. If it's decided to move forward with this, I will take that out of Fund 10 in order to get this project completed. I do believe at this price, we're probably saving $15,000 to $20,000 by getting it all done at one time versus spreading it out over a 3 or 4 year period.
Any questions?
I don't have any, but I think it's, based on that, I think we should go ahead with it. Does it need to go back to finance? Based on the dollars,
Yes, it does.
yeah, okay.
So the recommendation is to motion to bring forward with a positive recommendation to the September 13, 2021 Finance Committee to award Building Master Solutions a contract not to exceed $49,129 with $30,325 funded from 41 and $18,796 funded from the Building and Grounds Fund 10 budget to complete the entire administration building digital control upgrade.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oop, I'm sorry, do we need a discussion?
Brittany, are you okay with what we're discussing here? Okay.
Sorry.
We got the yes. All right.
All those in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the subject is discussion for the emergency management plans. The plans were forwarded because the committee should be the board actually should have these 60 days in advance in order to have time to go through the plans and to come up with any questions or corrections that need to take place on the plans.
And that has been shared with the entire board, correct? Everyone received them?
Yes.
I don't know if I received that. Have we received it?
Did you, well, I'll check my emails. I should have sent, thought I sent them out to everybody
How long ago?
last week.
Okay, I might have overlooked it. Yeah, take a look. I'll look also, see if I got it from you.
Yeah, there were 2 separate emails
looks
that
like
went
it might.
out, so
Okay.
if you don't have them, I'll get them out to you right away. I'll check my emails tomorrow morning too.
7B, discussion and possible action on district compartmentalization doors.
The fire doors that close during a lockdown at the schools must be rewired to close independently from the fire alarm system when the lockdown is activated. The fire doors have not been closing properly since the construction project has been completed. Prior to construction, when the lockdown was activated, the Linnell, or the access control system, would signal the fire alarm panel to close the doors. Johnson Controls, Simplex, informed the district due to updated life safety codes, this is no longer an acceptable practice, and the systems need to work independently. Representatives from Stanley Security and Johnson Controls have agreed on how the separation of the systems can be accomplished with the addition of a relay and wiring to the access control panels for each of the fire doors that are lockdown doors. Stanley Security will be doing the install and wiring. Listed below is the quote for each of the schools. Rockfield Elementary does not require any rewiring of the system. The total cost, which is not properly reflected here, it has been discovered that a set of doors at Kennedy Middle School and another set at Amy Bell were not included in the proper quotes. The cost for the KMS additional doors is $1,425, and the Amy Bell doors is $1,650, bringing the total cost of the project to $23,961. It is a recommendation to move forward with a positive recommendation to the Finance Committee to award Stanley Security a contract not to exceed $23,961 funded from the Building and Grounds Department Fund 10 budget to rewire the compartmentalization doors on the fire alarm system to work independently with the access control system. Any questions?
What was the dollar amount you just read?
$23,961.
Okay, the version I've got's a little bit, the number's a little different, so.
Yeah, you would have the version of 20,866. I just received the number for the doors that were missed this morning.
Okay, just so long as Tracy has it.
Yep. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I actually have one, and this might be, I think the key phrase here, key sentence in here, is the fire doors have not been closing properly since the construction project has been completed. Why?
Because they did not, a lot of the buildings had the fire alarm panels either moved or rewired. And at that time, the fire alarm company, Simplex, did not rehook up the doors for this particular reason, is because the fire alarm panel and the access control panel need to work separately, independently. Prior to construction, they didn't. What would happen is we would go into a lockdown, the Linnell panel would send a signal to the fire alarm panel, then to shut the fire doors. What they're saying now with life safety codes, we can't have it occur that way anymore. So we've been working with Stanley and C.D. Smith and Johnson Controls to get the problem resolved. It's taken this long for them to come up with a final resolution of how to properly get this. If this was done during construction, it would have ended up being a change order either way, because this was not something that would have been originally prior to construction on how the doors functioned.
Yeah, we've had the lockdown doors and so on for quite a few years now, so I don't think it would have been known back then what was going to happen today. It's something we put in place quite a few years ago, not highly advertised. What's that number again? I see I need it for finance.
The new number is 23,961.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions or discussion?
Hey, Don, quick question. Did the fire marshal sign off on this? Because we're hearing it from the vendor, and they've got a vested interest on doing what they're doing. But did our fire marshal sign off on this, the authority having jurisdiction over our life safety system in the schools? I mean, we want to do what's right, don't get me wrong.
They have not at this point in time. I can contact them and find out if they have any issues with it. I don't think that they're going to have any problems with us especially doing it this way. Because right now, the fire alarm panel cuts power to the set of relays. So the decision is to get it corrected, and those relays will still stay activated, but the Linnell panel relays will be after that, and they'll cut the power. So they'll be completely separated. I will check with them just to confirm it,
Yeah, because we've always done the right thing. We'll always put safety before anything else, life safety. But if our local fire marshal is not requiring us of this, that may be further discussion needed on that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions?
So, John, just to clarify, so when the fire alarm would go off, the fire doors would close, correctly?
Correct.
Correct, but then if we were doing a lockdown, which we noticed last spring, we were doing lockdown drills, if we did a lockdown, the lockdown doors closed, but it didn't trigger the additional fire doors to close. Is that
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, I'll take one last motion.
I have a question, though. Maybe it's growing pains for all the committee meetings this evening. I see policy and a building committee both started at 6 this evening. So what's going on?
No, we had a building committee meeting was scheduled for a 6:20 start.
What was it?
6:20 start.
Yeah, when we set these, when we talked to the people running them, they thought these would be quick meetings, and they haven't been, so.
Maybe I should keep my
That's
mouth
on us.
shut then. I apologize.
Oh, okay. I see the 20 minutes there. I stand corrected. Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All those, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 7:11 is our end time.
Just to clarify for everyone, we do have one more committee meeting before we will be starting the board meeting. We have finance committee. We are running a little bit late. Our 20-minute meetings are running over. So just to let you know what's going on.
So if you think the building committee meeting was exciting, we're going to do finance now. That's humor, by the way. All right, I'll call the finance committee meeting to order at 7:12. It was originally scheduled for 6:40. Anyway, Tom Barney
Here.
is here. Ray Borden is absent, excused, and our, what do you call yourself for this instance?
Ad hoc.
Ad hoc representative is our board president. Brian Medved is here, and I'm here, Michael Loth. Okay, agenda revisions and approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Okay, approve the July 19th, 2021 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 5, consent review and discuss July vouchers. I know there's one question.
I received one question from 2 individuals, so I will answer that. It is regarding a purchase of $17,500 for Apogee Inc. It's for communications and marketing. The questions were regarding, 1, the dollar amount, and 2, what is the system being used for. The first question, the dollar amount, $17,500, should it have came to Finance Committee? The answer is probably yes, it should have. One of the reasons it didn't, which it should have again, is because it is replacing 3 or 4 systems which were at a higher cost dollar amount, so we're actually saving money moving to this system. It is replacing Blackboard, CMS for Schools, and MailChimp, among maybe some other things. So the total of those 3 things were approximately $19,000, and the Apogee does all that into one system, which is $17,500. So it should have came to committee, but again, it was just a replacement, so I guess it got missed.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else. I make a motion to consent to payment vouchers as presented and reviewed.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 6A, final 2020-2021 year-end variance report. And I know Brittany's really just been dying to deliver this one to us, right?
I am. I'm
Go
very,
ahead. It's all
very
yours.
excited about this. So I brought this report to the board. I do monthly, so it did come the previous month to finance, but because our year wasn't closed out, I wanted to bring it back. We might have slight changes due to our audit is going on this week, but nothing that would be alarming to the board. It would just be slight changes that they would request. So what has changed since the last report out? In revenue side, we did do our final claims, so we received our final claims for our state and federal grants. We did receive our mobile home tax fees, and then we also did our final Fund 27 or special education transfer. As you know, we moved money from the general fund to cover the special ed fund, and you have to do that once all expenses are put in revenue are put in place. So that was another dollar amount that was transferred since the last report, which is about $5 million. And then on the expense side, the only adjustment was reconciliation that we do for our self-funded dental. We moved to self-funded dental, so if our claims for our dental are lower than our budget or our expenditures, we get to credit our expenses back. If they are higher, you then would charge our expenses. So it is a positive, at least right now for dental, and maybe if we move towards that direction for health, that you usually see a credit go back into your accounts. So that will happen at the end of every year for dental, and if we move to health self-funded, it would also happen at the end of the year for health insurance. We did end our year expending in Fund 10 and Fund 27, which is our general fund and our special ed fund, which are the two funds we review, spending $54,910,068.91. And we did receive $55,539,344.72. That leaves us with a surplus at the end of the year of $630,000. It's a little less than that, but rounding up to $630,000. Some of those were not in our control, and some of those we strategically did to help us out in the future. Some of the items that were not under our control were, we have unspent dollars due to delayed parts or services due to COVID-19. So for example, the track, that was an example on how it got delayed because they did not have people to do the work. That's just one example, but there was some items we have on back order that we couldn't expend, and there's some services that didn't happen due to staffing issues. We did move some of our expenses to ESSER dollars, so instructional software, some technologies, our mitigation equipment, some transportation, and some staffing. We got to move out of our general fund and our Fund 27 special ed fund into the ESSER dollars, so that saved us some dollars of normal expenses that we'd have. We had some reduced expenses due to a declining in our student enrollment. For example, if a student receives services such as nursing services, a one-on-one nursing services, and they were decided to be at home this past year, we did not have that expense. So due to some students not attending the school last year, we did not have some of those expenses. And then finally, maximizing our state and federal grants. This one's a little confusing. We have maintenance of effort, which I'm sure you've heard of. That means that we have to spend an equal amount percentage-wise on special ed students and regular ed students. So we can't spend a whole bunch of money on regular ed students and not spend money on special ed students, if that makes sense. Each year we have to go into the DPI website and we enter in all our information, and we have to pass one of 4 tests for them. And if you pass one of the 4 tests, then you get funding the following year. If you don't pass one of the 4 tests, you have to correct it, you can lose funding, and then you move forward. To be able to reduce funding in special education, you have to have an exception. An exception could be staff leaving on their own and not being replaced. It could be staff leaving and being replaced with somebody at a lesser cost. It could be a declining in student enrollment. If you enter one of those things, you can get an exception on your MOE test. So knowing that in 2020-21, looking into 21-22, we were going to have a deficit, we strategically moved some of the costs for Fund 27 into the CARES dollars, and we moved some of the Fund 27 costs into federal and state grants, which then reduced our transfer we had to move from Fund 10 to 27. The only reason we were able to do that this past year, is because we had a decline in enrollment and we got that exception. The exception was for $704,000. We did not reduce special ed budget by that much, but we reduced it to an appropriate amount, knowing that we'd have to reduce regular education expenses in 21-22. So by reducing those in 2021 for special ed, it rolls over to the next year. So that's one of the strategic ways that we reduced our cost to help our expenses in the future, but that's why you see part of the $630,000 surplus. Any questions?
I just want everybody to know, sitting in the audience here, she's not reading from notes. You know, she's doing this from memory, so she actually knows what she's talking about. Okay, Bob?
I just want to thank you. It's nice to have a leader that has the vision and that puts a plan together and that executes the plan. So thank you for doing this. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
But I do have a question. You mentioned that we do have the auditors auditing us. Typically, going back several years, at least I would get an email or a letter from the auditors stating if there's any concerns that I have as a board member or as a board president at that time. And I don't know if my colleagues on the board ever received that, but I didn't get anything this year. Not saying that I should, but, and I have no concerns or issues or any things like that, but there must have been a change in the process. So.
And I don't know in the past if they sent it to all of the board members or if they randomly selected them. They randomly select stuff on our end, so they might do that as well, or they might just pick certain seats.
Got it.
I can tell you that I had a phone call,
Oh, cool.
so
Great.
there was communication.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I have not received anything this year, but normally I receive one every year, so I think I don't get an exemption from that.
They complete the audit through the month of December, so maybe they're not to that part, or maybe they just thought Amanda was enough to reach out to. But I'll follow up with them.
We all know I am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. I'm not going to repeat all of that in the full board meeting, but I will mention the bottom line, I think, which is the surplus of $630,000, which is good. Of course, that's not going to all go to fund balance. There's a few things that will draw on that money yet, but I think we've got a little addition to the fund balance versus zero. So I think there's another guy sitting way in the back there that'll be happy about that with the initials SH, I believe. Okay, that's it for that. And then I think we're on item 7, there's no unfinished business. Item 8A, district compartmentalization doors. Don already covered it, but it now hits finance.
Sure. Don went over this in the building committee, so it is coming to finance and then going to full board if it's approved by finance. If you want me to go into detail, I'm more than welcome to. Otherwise, the dollar amount that we are asking to be approved would not exceed $23,961 to make sure that our compartmentalization doors work appropriately when we have lockdowns and fire drills.
Correct. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to award Stanley Security a contract not to exceed $23,961, funded from the Buildings and Grounds Department Fund 10 budget to rewire the compartmentalization doors on the fire alarm system to work independently with the access control system.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And then we've got item 8A, B, Schoolology Learning Management System.
Sure, I'm going to turn it over to Justin Baumgarter in technology, and he can go through the details with you.
Okay, Justin, thank you.
Thank you. Typically, this is a yearly purchase for our Schoology Learning Management System that we started when we had our one-to-one Chromebook program. This year is a little bit different. We got a COVID-19 Digital Learning Bridge voucher that we've decided to put towards this particular amount. So the Schoology subscription cost is $30,715.05, and we would be applying our Digital Learning Bridge voucher of $4,276, which brings our final cost down to $26,439.05.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to purchase Schoology Learning Management Services for an amount not to exceed $26,439.05.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. And I'll accept another motion.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Tom, second by Brian. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This motion is, or this meeting is adjourned at 7:26.
Okay, we'll take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll begin our board meeting.